I want us to realize that with the project that is before us, that it is important to understand two simple things. One, that our country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is quite a small island. As a matter of fact, it's a small multi-island state with approximately 133 or so square miles, with a population of approximately 110,000 people. It's crucial for us to understand those simple facts. Why? It is so because the land space that we have is very limited, and it is indeed a limited resource for the management of those of us who are given that opportunity, so that we have a resource to manage both for ourselves and for the unborn generation. So, as stewards, we have to try and do our best in this regard. Understanding that land is finite, we have to try and take pride and joy in using this great resource for the greater good of all of us. In our society today, the demand for land is extremely high. And in our interaction with and for land use, this is indeed crucial for our survival here on this earth. We have to provide for infrastructure development. We have to provide for our housing needs. We have to provide for food, which involves agriculture, production of crops and livestock. And we have to also provide for recreation. All these are competing issues for land and the scarce land that we do have for our own development. And so, while it is important to understand that land is very important to our own humanization, it is also important to note that access to land is also very important. How do we get access? Of course, title to these lands may either be through privately owned. It can be through where you have a lease arrangement, or you can have access through rental means. And in some cases, as we all know, there's a serious phenomenon here in St. Vincent, where one of the features to lands are one of squatting. And so, understanding the means to access to land is crucial to the management of land. You know that, let's take for example a 5-acre block of land for agriculture. If 5 acres is being allocated to you for agricultural purposes, there are boundaries demarcating that land area. The same goes for if you are occupying what we call one housing lot at an average of 4,000 square foot of land. The same goes for that parcel of land where there are boundaries that would have been established for that parcel of land. And it is also important to note that ownership of land do change from time to time, whether or not it is privately owned, whether or not it is lease arrangement, or even squatting. From time to time, ownership changes. And because there are changing of ownerships from time to time, this too must be managed, since we have been given the opportunity to do that work. And especially where in changing ownership, there are tremendous legal means, and the state itself being a party to these transactions. And the Prime Minister made it clear as to presently how these transactions are being done presently. But equally, what we should note is, in terms of an overall management of lands here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is that since our independence in 1979, successive administrations would have strived to maintain the best possible management systems to best aid in land management and its control. But despite their best efforts, there continues to be tremendous problems in managing lands. Because coming out of the estate system, coming out of the plantation system, of course under the plantation system there were fewer farms. But with the advent of and coming out of the estate system, of course, there would have been tremendous multiplicity of small farms. And many of these farms that were cut into, on average, 5 to 6 acres are now growing smaller and smaller, year by year, month by month, day by day. Because what is happening is that our children and grandchildren continue to divide and to dissect the land area for their own use. And in so doing, each parcel of land then becomes its own property. So while you have that on farm lands equally, even on housing lots, we also see not only one house, but sometimes 2 houses or 3 houses. Again, each of them become their own property. And so, it is much more work for the Land and Surveys Department to be surveying and maintaining boundaries to satisfy the need of those who are occupying those properties. And where the land is even owned by the government, it is one that is much more of a nuisance, because one would think they can go in and occupy and do what they please with these lands. You know, I've seen where farmlands that were given out to farmers where the allocation was 5 or 6 acres, and the recipients or the farmers continue to move boundary marks to give them the opportunity to have more land. But in so doing, it's creating more confusion and unnecessary problems for their neighbors. It's not an easy task for the Surveys Department to maintain that kind of work, particularly in developments. Just last week, a lady came to me, and she is living in a development where on average the building lots are approximately 4,000 square foot of land. And on one lot became a second house. And the rubbish that is created on that second house finds itself to be burning right next door, as a matter of fact, right behind the window of their neighbor. And so the call was whether or not I can prevent this individual from burning rubbish from right behind that window. Of course, I did indicate to the individual that that is a matter for the Ministry of Health and for the police department. But you're going to have a lot of these nuisances in developments from time to time. But again, what we have seen in the Surveys Department over time is that there are lands that were distributed as long ago as in 1982 and as recent as in 1996, where these lands were given out in leases. But the time frame for occupation has far been gone. And today, a number of the original owners have passed on, and it's their children and even their grandchildren who are in occupation of these lands. And despite the many calls from the Surveyors Department for individuals to come in and regularize their operations, many of these calls would have fallen on deaf ears. And so, again, creating much more work for the Surveyors Department. As I look at this new proposal, of course, I believe that this new proposal, this new initiative, can really spark or rekindle new energies to the extent that many would see the wisdom in coming back to the Surveyors Department to renew ownership to these lands. The Lands and Surveyors Department is that institution here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that has been given the responsibility to manage the land resources of this country. Equally, the Land and Surveyors Department, it has been given the mandate to provide current and up-to-date mapping information for all of the land here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Hence, the department must be given the proper staffing and equipment to provide the necessary and best results where possible. In 2007, the department acquired, through aerial photography, the current base map that is now being used in that department. This base map is indeed fundamental to the identification of properties and their locations, and for implementing a single window transaction system. And Mr. Moore indicated to you what is considered to be the single window transaction system. But based on this map, at this very moment, this map is outdated and must be replaced by more modern technology. Hence the reason for this new system, which involves digitization of the land administration process. So the department understands the need for an improved service delivery. The government is entering into an agreement with PLACE, a global non-profit organization, to undertake aerial photography, which is indeed a critical input in establishing the parcel-based land information system. The Caribbean Digital Transformation Program, CARDTP, will assist in the implementation of this program, and it is expected that this program will assist in reducing time, cost, and when doing business in land transactions here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Equally, I believe that this program will certainly help to regulate unplanned developments in this country, since parcel ID is one of the measures required for such development. And I also believe that it is important that even the service providers who will require parcel ID to offer services, that they too will fall in line. Too many properties are offered services by service providers that is creating tremendous problems here in this country. Quite recently, the information came to me through the Electrical Inspectorate that is working in the Ministry of Transport and Works, that there is still over 5,000 households that are on temporary connections in this country from one particular service provider. These are matters to which we have to address and address speedily. So I'm indeed happy to be here with you here this morning, and of course to begin a new chapter in ensuring that a better and a more organized land management system is put in place to better serve the clientele of this country. I'm much obliged. Thank you very much.